That rainy day, she was squatting in the corner by the wall. At school, she was the well-known bad girl. Dyed hair, skipping classes, refusing to hand in homework, hanging out with troublemakers, even having an abortion. Every rumor you could possibly associate with a delinquent student had her name in it. But on that rainy day, I shared half my umbrella with her. She looked up at me. Her face was stunning. And because of that moment, she started clinging to me. I gradually realized, maybe those rumors. Main story. You don't have an umbrella. The rain was pouring down in sheets. It was the end of the school day, and students hurried along under their umbrellas. Only she, wearing her school uniform, sat alone in a corner against the wall. Her head was lowered, and her ashy white dyed hair hid her face. Maybe she wasn't sure I was calling out to her. The girl looked up and pointed to herself in puzzlement. And in that instant, I saw a face so beautiful it took my breath away. Her features were delicate, those questioning eyes framed by long lashes. Rain had soaked her clothes, and that exquisite face carried an unmistakable look of loss. I knew her, Willow from class 3, grade 11, the school's recognized bad girl. Hair dyed, skipping class all the time. Neither boys nor girls dared to get too close to her. Rumor had it she hung around with thugs from outside school. I never expected the person crouching miserably at the school gate, hiding from the rain, to be her. We locked eyes for a brief moment. Her lashes fluttered slightly. What is it? Her voice was laced with impatience. I froze for a moment, but somehow, I tilted my umbrella toward her and said, "You're drenched. Let me walk you home." She seemed a little surprised at my words. Her eyes looked at me with a trace of fear. "Which way are you going?" When she didn't answer, I asked again, "Or, are you waiting for someone?" Willow shook her head. "I can't go back anymore." "Can't go back? Go back where? Home?" I was baffled, but still tried to angle my not-so-big umbrella to cover her completely. She shook her head again, a flicker of sadness passing through her gaze. "Forgot my keys." At that, I frowned. "So what will you do? You can't just stay here forever, right?" As I spoke, Willow suddenly seemed to think of something. Tilting her head, her eyes lit up. "How about, you let me hide out at your place?" "Huh?" That bold suggestion caught me off guard. "My place? What? Can't I?" She shot back. I knew it. After saying that, she lowered her head again. Her disappointment made me a little flustered. "Why not?" "But, you don't mind that I live alone?" Willow suddenly looked up. "You can. You live alone. What's the big deal? Then let's go." When I said that, my heart thudded hard. Honestly, even though Willow's reputation wasn't great, she really was beautiful. Every time our eyes met, my heart skipped a beat. She stood up, half a head shorter than me. "What's your name?" "George." "Well, that's a pretty ordinary name." "Yeah, but no matter what, when parents name their child, they always hope it carries a good meaning." We chatted idly, here and there. "You can actually take care of yourself. That's impressive." My parents have been abroad for years." A barely noticeable flicker of emotion passed through her eyes. "That's nice. Aren't you the same?" I thought of how she had no key and no one at home. Her parents must not be there either. "Will your parents be back tomorrow?" "No idea." "So what will you do?" Hearing that question again, Willow rolled her eyes at me. Even with that granny gray hair color, her expression was unexpectedly cute. "Can't you at least wait until I've dried off before making me think about that?" I nodded. "Guess you're right. I'll stop asking." Willow let out a short laugh, but almost instantly, her face went blank again. I lifted my head to follow her gaze. I saw that the students walking toward us from the opposite direction were actually making a point to avoid us once they noticed Willow walking beside me. It was a feeling I'd never had before. So, she had always been this isolated. And here I was, taking the school's most notorious bad girl home with me. That thought alone made me feel a little uneasy. Would this cause trouble for me? I lived alone. What if those thugs she hung around with decided to come after me? But when I turned my head, I saw Willow's expectant face in the rain. Droplets clung to her long lashes, making her look breathtaking. My place is right here." I stopped at the base of my apartment building. "You live here?" Willow pointed at the unit block. Splash. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. Ladies' undergarments lay casually on the sofa. I sat stiffly in the corner of the couch, back straight. This was the first time in my life a strange girl had been in my home, and she was my age. The air carried a faint, candy-like sweetness. Every whiff seemed to spark my nerves. Even without seeing anything, my whole body was tense. Half an hour later, Willow came out of the bathroom, towel drying her hair. She was wrapped in a bathrobe, her gray hair tucked up, her face looking even sweeter and more delicate. I stared without thinking. She caught me staring and blushed. "Don't you dare peek," she shouted, snatched the clothes from the sofa, and dashed into a room, my room. As if she didn't feel safe enough, she locked the door. I chuckled softly and shook my head. "I'm not going to look." When she came out again, she was wearing my shirt. It felt different, almost like she was mine. Does it look good? Willow leaned toward me on purpose, teasing. I've got homework to do. I turned my face away and opened my desk. Aren't you going to work on yours? I asked, glancing back. TCH, as if. She plopped onto the sofa, pulled out her phone, and started scrolling. I let her be and focused on my assignments. The truth was, the atmosphere was a little awkward. If I didn't have homework, I wouldn't know what to say. After 2 problems, I began to get into the flow. I didn't know how much time had passed before I felt a tickle on my neck. Whipping my head around, I nearly came face to face with her. What are you doing? I clutched my chest. You scared me. You're really that focused. Willow stood with her hands behind her back, smiling brightly at me. Weren't you playing on your phone? When did you come over? She pointed at the floor. Just now. Oh, right. I wanted to ask you something. What is it? I asked, puzzled. It's just. She looked a little shy, but after a moment's hesitation, she spoke. My parents aren't coming back tomorrow either. Can I stay here one more day? I frowned. One more day. Seeing my expression, Willow's face showed uncertainty. Please? Yes. She suddenly lunged toward me, but quickly seemed to realize it wasn't quite right. Pulling back, Willow smoothed the ends of her hair. George, you're awesome. As payment, from today on, I'll protect you. She said this while patting me on the shoulder. The next day, we went to school together. Since we were both in the 2nd year of high school, our classrooms were in the same building. The looks from passing classmates were full of whispers and pointing fingers. She seemed entirely used to that kind of attention. George, wait for me after school. Okay. In front of my classroom, she called out to me. I nodded and stepped inside, while she continued walking down the hall. Morning reading had already started, and just as I sat down, I caught a few strange glances. My desk mate leaned closer and whispered, How do you even know Willow? You know her, I whispered back. Who doesn't know her? His face turned grim. I heard last week she's dating some thug from outside school, and the reason she missed classes before, she had an abortion. An abortion? Yeah, and you're still walking so close with her, even without knowing. I shook my head. No. I don't think she's that kind of person. My desk mate shook his head, speaking as if giving me sage advice. You're too easily fooled by appearances. Don't be deceived by how she's always dressed up. Underneath, she's filthy. She'll get together with any guy. Hearing that, I felt an unexpected sourness in my chest, but I didn't respond. Just took out my book and focused on morning reading. What? You still don't believe it? When he saw I wasn't listening, he tried to say more. I quickly cut him off. The teacher's here. The whole day, I was distracted in class. My desk mate's words kept echoing in my head. She'll get together with any guy. She's dating some thug outside school, and she even got pregnant and had an abortion. She's always dressed up. Was she really like that? Yesterday's image came back to me, the underwear tossed carelessly on the sofa. I could almost imagine a scene. Those bleached-haired thugs tangled up with Willow in bed. No, she's not like that. I shook my head firmly. And even if she was, what did that have to do with me? Because of those words, I went through lunch in a daze. It wasn't until the end of the day, when Willow stood waiting at my classroom door, that I snapped back to reality. She had curled her bangs into soft waves, and her already sweet dimples seemed even more striking. The moment she appeared, she drew the attention of nearly everyone in my class. The boys who looked at her had a certain lewdness in their eyes. The girls' gazes, however, were far more complicated. Some avoided her like the plague, some looked on with disdain, and others had a faint glimmer of jealousy. I noticed all of it, and along with that, the way they looked at me started to change as well. Aren't you leaving yet? Willow leaned her head in, chewing bubble gum. Let's go. I packed my bag and stood up, walking toward her under the weight of everyone's stares. You're so slow. Willow bumped me lightly in annoyance. I had a lot of homework to sort out today, I explained. You don't look right. She immediately picked up on my mood. Surprised, I asked, what do you mean, not right? Before she could answer, a few jeering voices rang out from ahead. Well, I thought you dropped out for good, girl. Gotcha, didn't I? At the school gate, a few bleached-haired thugs blocked our way. The leader had a small tattoo on his arm. You think you can cheat me out of my money and just walk away? The tattooed man rolled his fists and stepped forward. Willow immediately moved to stand in front of me. This is school. They won't dare to do anything here. My mind worked quickly. I glanced at the school gate behind us, a short distance away, calculating whether I had time to run back and get the security guard. But before I could act, 2 more guys came up from behind us. Let's see where you run today. The tattooed man closed in, smirking. Hey, you're coming with us. No arguments. Not going anywhere today. A large hand landed firmly on my shoulder. You too. Willow and I were taken to a secluded corner, the kind of place where thugs usually met for fights. A wide, empty patch of grass with no one around. Girl, let me tell you something, even in this business, you gotta have morals. I, Martin, have been in the game for years, and I always keep my word. As the tattooed man spoke, the gang behind him all chimed in. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. How could you do that? That's right. If you don't spend the night with Martin today, don't blame him for being ruthless. Hearing this, I felt a stab of confusion. Did these guys want to force Willow into something? And it sounded like there was some kind of deal between them. But without thinking too much, I stepped in front of Willow. Forcing someone against their will is called rape. You know that, right? The moment I stood in their way, all their eyes turned to me. Their gazes were sharp as knives, and in my life until now, I had never been this brave. Like the other students, I would usually keep as far away from thugs as possible. Well, what do we have here? Where'd this punk come from? Martin walked right up, grabbing me by the collar. One of his lackeys piped up. Boss, you think this kid's Willow's boy toy? He looks soft enough. Before Martin could respond, Willow suddenly rushed forward and shoved him hard. Let go of him. The sudden force made him release me, and in the next instant, I felt a warm hand grab mine. Run. Willow pulled me into a sprint. The thugs clearly didn't react in time, only giving chase after a moment. They can't catch us. Her voice was urgent, tinged with the faintest sob. Something stirred in my chest. I couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't as bad as she looked on the surface, and she definitely didn't treat everything as carelessly as she pretended. I ran fast, but Willow quickly started to fall behind. The problem was, the thugs chasing us were even faster. They were closing in. I shoved Willow forward. Run ahead. Call the police. And I planted myself in the middle of the path. Willow froze. What are you standing there for? Go. I didn't know where the courage came from, but I clenched my fists and charged at the thugs. My punch swung through empty air. The next moment, a heavy blow slammed into my face. Stars burst in my vision. The others had already surrounded me, and Willow still hadn't run. She was about to rush toward me. Idiot. Panic spiked in my chest. If neither of us got away, then I'd be taking this beating for nothing. Fists were about to crash down on me again. And then, a sharp voice rang out from not far away. What do you think you're doing? Two men in security uniforms strode toward us. At the sight of them, the thugs scattered instantly. I'd taken a few punches and didn't have the strength to get up. Willow crouched down beside me, holding me up with a look of genuine worry. The two guards approached, surprised to see us in school uniforms. Why are you fighting with people outside school? Aren't you afraid of getting reported to your teachers? One of the guards came over to check my injuries. I'm fine. I waved my hands quickly. The last thing I wanted was for this to blow up. If the teachers found out, Willow could be in real trouble. Do you want me to tell a teacher and take you to the hospital? No need. I shook my head. I'm okay. All right. The guard nodded reluctantly, then turned to Willow. Make sure you take care of him, and if anything happens, call the school right away. Willow nodded. Got it. On the small road, Willow supported me as we limped toward home. Thank you. Her voice was soft, tinged with a little sadness. It's nothing. I didn't ask her anything. We walked in silence. Finally, Willow seemed unable to hold back. Supporting me, she asked, "Don't you have anything you want to ask?" Ask about what? About me. When we got home, Willow helped me clean my wounds. Under my relentless questioning, I finally pieced together the truth. It wasn't that she had forgotten her keys. She had been kicked out of her home. She'd lived with her uncle since she was little. Her parents worked away from home, sending money now and then. At first, it wasn't so bad. The money was decent, and she wasn't treated poorly. But then her parents just disappeared. Along with that came her aunt's cold looks and growing disdain. Still, they couldn't just throw her out, until a huge fight a while back. After that, they kicked her out. That rainy day when I met her, she had already been homeless for half a month. With no money, Willow tricked some thugs out of 800 yuan. How? By agreeing to sleep with one of them. But after taking the money, she ran, which led to today's incident. I looked at her. She was lowering her head in shame. I didn't want to do it, but I had no money, and I was so hungry. Without realizing it, something stirred faintly in my heart. It felt almost like heartache. I couldn't quite name the emotion. How much is left from that 800 yuan? Willow looked up, her gray-white hair fluffing slightly. You want that money? How much is left? Take it out. I reached out my hand, questioning her. Willow hesitated for a moment, then pulled 100 yuan from her pocket. There's only 100 left. I was thinking of using it to buy you medicine. Give it to me. I didn't explain, just asked directly. She let out a soft, puzzled ah. I said, give me the money. Hearing my words, Willow's eyes shifted from confusion to disappointment. You're right, it was my fault you got hurt. This 100 should be compensation. She placed the bill in my palm. If it's not enough, consider it a debt, I'll pay you back later. Willow spoke to herself, then stood up. I'll be going now. Thank you for taking care of me these past days. That lonely, disappointed figure walked toward the door. I spoke calmly, though the storm inside me reminded me every moment that this was a major decision. This money is enough. From now on, you can stay here. Willow stopped in her tracks. You can stay with me, I repeated. Her expression shifted from uncertainty to delight. Really? I can stay? Yes. And this 100 yuan isn't compensation, it's your lodging fee from now on. I smiled lightly, though my heart was heavy. She had nothing. If she didn't stay here, where could she go? Back to those thugs to trick them again. But tricking them once was one thing. Could she really escape a second time? I feared the final outcome might truly be 800 a night. I couldn't imagine those yellow-haired punks pressing down on Willow. It was something I couldn't accept. I didn't even know why. With 100 yuan, how long can I stay? Willow still seemed unsure, asking cautiously, until you no longer need to, really. Overcome with excitement, Willow suddenly threw herself at me. She wasn't heavy, but the impact made my wound ache slightly. Yes, really. I pushed her away gently. But there's one condition, you must do what I say. What things? Just listen to me. You must study. You want me to study? Willow lay half on me in confusion, but in the next second, both of us flushed at the awkward position. She quickly got up and sat not far from me. What's the point of studying? I glanced at her. I don't care. If you want to stay here, you have to study, and you need to earn a ranking. Huh? Willow looked completely shocked. Don't think it's impossible. I'll teach you, I said patiently. But before studying, my first requirement is that you dye this granny gray hair back to its original color. Dye it back. Yes, back to black. And so, despite Willow's extreme reluctance, I dragged her to the hair salon. The next day, when we walked into school side by side, many eyes turned toward us, but unlike before, those gazes were filled with appraisal and amazement. Willow walked beside me with her head slightly lowered, her fresh and delicate beauty impossible to ignore. I had never realized how stunning she looked with black hair. There was a touch of that classic East Asian beauty to her. Even a few male classmates cast envious glances in my direction. This feels so weird. Do I look too weak like this? Willow leaned in and whispered. It's like I look really easy to bully. No. I shook my head. Like this. You look beautiful. The moment I finished speaking, Willow froze. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her cheeks flush a noticeable shade of red. We made our way toward the teaching building, but just as I stepped into my classroom like usual, I heard a sharp voice coming from Willow's class next door. Willow, did you steal the class fund? It was a boy's voice, probably Diego, the class monitor. I didn't. How could I possibly? From the hallway came Willow's faint attempt to defend herself. Diego's voice rose again. How could you not? Don't think I don't know about your family situation. Willow, your aunt already came to school. You were kicked out of your house with no money. If you didn't steal, then who did? Stay there. I'm going to search you. His words were aggressive, leaving Willow no room to defend herself. I didn't steal. For the first time, I heard the faint sound of tears in her voice. That was it. I could no longer hold back my anger. I strode quickly toward her classroom. Behind me, my desk mate called out, "Hey, it's morning study time, where are you going?" When I reached the doorway, I saw Willow cornered against the wall. Diego's hand was reaching toward her, as if to search her by force. "What do you think you're doing?" I shouted, my voice sharp with fury. Diego flinched and turned toward me, frowning. "Aren't you from the next class over? What are you doing here?" "Yes, I'm from next door, but I'm also Willow's friend." I fixed my gaze on Diego, then swept my eyes across the entire class. Willow would never steal money. My tone was solemn. Your class fund going missing has nothing to do with her. Diego's brows drew together. Oh, and how do you prove that? What makes you so sure she didn't take it? Do you have evidence? He shot the question right back at me. At that moment, Willow couldn't hold back anymore. She clenched her fists and said, "Diego, if you think I'm a bad person, fine. But if you say I stole money, I'll never admit that." Willow had never been the weak type. She had endured Diego until now only to explain herself. But his tone made it clear, he had already decided she was guilty. "Ha, you're strapped for cash right now. Tell me, during the days you've been away from home, what have you been spending on, and how?" Diego's words dripped with unpleasant implications. "What does that have to do with you? Whatever I eat or spend outside, it's none of your business." Willow tried to fight back, but seemed to run out of arguments. Diego's face was full of disdain as he sneered in front of the entire class. Stole the class fund and still won't admit it. I'll call the police about this." "Then go ahead," I snapped. "I told you. I can prove Willow didn't steal anything. Diego glanced at me. Classmate, it's time for your lesson. Go back to your own classroom. Bang. I slammed my palm down on the lectern. I'll say it right here. Right now, Willow absolutely did not steal your money, because these past few days, I've been with her the entire time. The moment the words left my mouth, the classroom erupted in murmurs. And you said you'd call the police. Fine. But if the surveillance footage proves Willow had nothing to do with it. I stared unblinking at Diego. Will you be ready to take legal responsibility? Diego was caught off guard. What do you mean? I mean we call the teacher or the police right now. Whether it's pulling the footage or giving statements, we'll find out exactly where the money went. I stepped down from the lectern. If it wasn't Willow, I won't even make you take legal responsibility. But you will apologize to her in front of the entire class. No, make that the entire school. I was going to clear Willow's name. She wasn't some delinquent. She was just. Diego froze, and at that moment, a teacher walked in, having caught what I'd just said. Students, what's going on here? The teacher tilted her head, puzzled. About 10 minutes later, Lisa, the homeroom teacher, had a rough grasp of the situation. MS. Lisa, you have to see my side, Diego said angrily. The money I kept in my desk drawer couldn't have just vanished for no reason. Lisa nodded slowly. Diego, as the class monitor, shouldn't you be more careful than to accuse someone without evidence? Then she turned to me. I agree with your suggestion. We'll investigate. If it turns out Willow didn't take the money, Diego, you'll apologize to her in front of the entire school. Is that acceptable? Diego hesitated, then finally nodded. Fine. If it wasn't her, I'll apologize publicly. But what if it was her? Suddenly, his tone shifted, and his eyes locked on Willow. Willow met his gaze without flinching. If it was me, then in addition to apologizing, I'll accept whatever legal punishment comes my way. The room fell completely silent. Good. Then it's settled. Let's begin the investigation. Lisa glanced at me before turning back to Diego. Tell me every detail about when the money went missing. Willow, you'll do the same. Tell me everything you saw. We'll determine the exact time the money disappeared so I can check the classroom surveillance footage. Half an hour later, after comparing notes, they pinned down the approximate time frame. Lisa pulled up the class's entire surveillance recording from yesterday. But strangely, no matter how many times we replayed it, no one ever took money from Diego's desk. Diego, think carefully. Are you sure you even put the money in your desk? Lisa's eyes bore into him. By this point, Willow's innocence was clear. The money had gone missing yesterday, and Willow hadn't even gone near the class monitor's desk all day. Now, not just me, every single classmate had their eyes fixed on Diego. Sweat broke out on his forehead. I'll have to think about it. His voice was already tinged with nerves. Just then, a girl walked in. Teacher, what happened here? Everyone looked surprised. MS. Lisa spoke up. Alicia, why are you just arriving now? Wasn't it said that the sports committee needed to order class uniforms? I went this morning to finalize the design. Alicia seemed to be the class's student council representative, always in charge of purchases and activities. After speaking, she walked into the classroom. There's still 350 yuan left. Here, take it. Holding a handful of change, Alicia handed it to Diego, but Diego's hand froze midair, not taking the money for a long moment. Alicia looked puzzled. What's wrong with you? Heh. Diego let out a cold laugh. My mistake. I didn't expect the money to be with you. Humph. Seeing this, Willow turned her head sharply away and let out a cold snort. MS. Lisa's gaze hardened. Diego, I believe I've taught you all that you should never jump to conclusions without evidence. And you're the class president. Yet you've done something that harms a classmate's reputation. Being criticized. Diego no longer looked as defiant as before. I know I was wrong, he said, lowering his head. But MS. Lisa's eyes remained stern. An apology here isn't enough. Prepare a written apology. On Monday, during the school assembly, I'll have you read it on the stage. At this, Diego's face darkened, but he eventually nodded. I understand. All right. Today's farce ends here. MS. Lisa added. As for whether you're still suitable to remain as class president after you apologize, I'll think about it. That sentence hit Diego like a bolt of lightning. He had always taken pride in being class president. Now that the position might be taken away, he was naturally nervous. Also, thank you to George from the neighboring class for helping us uphold justice today. Finally, MS. Lisa turned her gaze toward me. You can go back to your class for now. I'll explain the situation to your teacher. Thank you, MS. Lisa. I bowed deeply to her. Under the watchful eyes of the entire class, I left. Ding ding ding. Not long after, a message popped up on my phone. Thank you. It was from Willow. After that, she even added a cute emoji. Looking at the message, I couldn't help but smile and reply, no problem. Don't mention it. At dismissal, Willow was waiting for me at the classroom door. Just like always, her long black hair and delicate features drew the attention of many. Sparking whispers. Is that Willow? She's actually that beautiful. Some spoke in disbelief. What a pity. A girl that pretty, doing those kinds of things. Yeah, I even heard she had an abortion. Never would have thought. They murmured quietly, but my eyes turned cold as I walked past them. Before you have evidence, never jump to conclusions. Leaving those words behind, I headed straight toward Willow. Shall we go? She blinked her beautiful eyes. It was as if she'd heard what I just said, but she didn't comment. We walked on together, different from usual. Today the air between us carried a faint hint of something more. We didn't speak, yet it felt like we'd said a lot. Once we stepped out of the school gates, Willow suddenly let out a startled gasp. She had spotted those same thugs again. Let's go this way. Willow grabbed my arm, trying to pull me back, but the thugs had already blocked the path. I'm calling security. Willow threatened sharply, but the leader, Martin, looked completely unfazed. Hey, security guards aren't police. Go ahead, call them, if you dare. I'll make sure everyone in the whole school knows you sell yourself. Martin pointed a finger at Willow, his gaze full of menace. I immediately stepped in front of her. Here's 800 yuan. Take it and get lost. I pulled out a stack of bills and handed them over. Martin froze for a moment, but the next second, he slapped the money away. Ha, you think I'm the kind of guy who can be played like that? He stepped closer. I'm not short on 800 yuan. What I want is for this woman to sleep with me. Martin licked his lips. Gotta admit, with that black hair, she looks pretty obedient. I've always had a thing for good little schoolgirls. Ha 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 ha. The group of thugs behind him burst into laughter. A disgusting scene like a pack of jackals. Willow's face twisted with disgust as she shot back. When did I ever say I'd sleep with you? The money was just borrowed from you. Borrowed. Martin's smile widened. And who do you think you are? Willow. What makes you think I'd lend you money? If it weren't for your decent looks, you wouldn't even be worth 800 yuan. His words were cruel, deeply insulting for any girl. I could feel Willow's emotions churning behind me. I squeezed her hand firmly, signaling her to stay calm. Hey, don't mistake kindness for weakness. Today, I wasn't charging in blindly. I had come prepared. I pulled out my phone, the screen showing the emergency police dial. Before we even left school, I figured you'd try something. The local police are already on their way. Let's see, will they believe us students? Or you bunch of street punks? Take the money and leave, or go have tea at the station. Your choice. As soon as I finished speaking, Martin's expression darkened. Hey, punk, don't think the police can protect you forever. When I set my sights on a woman, none of them get away. My face hardened. For some reason, hearing Martin say that stirred a murderous urge in me. I wanted nothing more than for him and his gang to disappear from the world forever. But I knew, this was a law-bound society, and I was just a student. I didn't have that kind of power. Let's go. Before I could respond, Martin snatched the money off the ground and left with his gang. Finally, I let out a long breath. Truthfully, I hadn't been sure I could scare them off. I only knew one thing. I couldn't show fear. The moment you let them see fear, they'll have you in their grip. Let's go home. In my tension, I hadn't even realized I'd been holding Willow's hand the entire time. And Willow, with her head lowered, let me lead her without resistance. With her head still down, she spoke softly, almost guilty. I'm sorry. Because of me, you lost that money. I'll pay you back. I glanced at her. No rush. I just don't want you doing any more scams. Don't do bad things. Hearing my reminder, Willow suddenly laughed. It was a strange, inexplicable smile. I understand. I'll pay you back through honest means. Good. After we got home, Willow did her homework, at my insistence. Although her textbooks were practically blank, the characters she wrote were still neat and graceful. Your handwriting is beautiful. You should write more, I said. Willow tilted her head, looking puzzled. It's not as good as you say. I glanced at her as I worked on my own problems. Next year is our final year before the college entrance exam. You still have a chance. You must get into a university. I want that too, Willow said, resting her chin on her arms, her eyes looking a bit tired. But I just can't seem to get into studying. Don't think like that. Start with small goals. For example, improve your rank by 10 places in the next monthly exam. I chuckled, pushing a problem set toward her. You know the deal. We already agreed on this. I know. Still lying on the desk, she impatiently took the new problems from me. Studying was dull, but somehow, studying with Willow didn't feel so dull anymore. On Monday, during the flag-raising ceremony, Diego held an apology letter and read it in front of the entire school. Although the words were just the usual formalities, it was still, in essence, an apology to Willow. Sorry for causing Willow trouble with her reputation. My rash judgment nearly left her to suffer unjustly. I sincerely apologize for everything I've done. When he finished, Diego bowed deeply to the audience. Thousands of students and teachers witnessed it. My eyes scanned the crowd and landed on Willow, who stood not far away, Maybe it was just my imagination, but I thought I saw a faint blush on her face, almost like she was crying. But with someone as stubborn as Willow, could she really be crying? After that incident, Willow seemed to stick even closer to me. Whether it was in the cafeteria, between classes, or even during PE, she was always by my side. During this time, the teacher called me in for a few talks. In the office, my homeroom teacher spoke earnestly. "George, next year is a crucial time for your studies. You can't be dating. And that Willow, she doesn't seem like a good student." Hearing such an earnest warning, I frowned deeply. "Why do you say Willow isn't a good student?" My retort caught her off guard. "She doesn't study well, she dyes her hair, and she's rebellious. That's not how a good student should be, right?" Her words didn't sit right with me. "Teacher, as an educator, I don't think you should say something like that." In her eyes, I was the model student with good grades, but that wasn't the label I wanted. Likewise, dyed hair and rebelliousness were just Willow's way of protecting herself. Those things shouldn't be the labels that define a person. No student or person should be defined that way. My teacher looked a little stunned. "See, this is why I said dating would affect your studies." Setting aside her dyed hair and rebelliousness, isn't it true that Willow has poor grades? I looked her in the eye. Poor grades aren't forever, and I want to correct something else. I stood up. "We're not dating, and I don't think I have any reason to lie about that. But Willow is a good kid, and she deserves to achieve more." I picked up my things and continued. "Since you chose this profession, you should understand, education isn't about making the good students better. It's about making sure everyone has the opportunity to learn." When I left the office, the teacher still hadn't recovered from her shock. After that, I began paying closer attention to Willow's studies. She might not have been thrilled about it, but compared to when we first started, her resistance toward studying had eased considerably. In fact, she was genuinely trying to learn something, and that alone was rare and precious. In the study room, she rested her cheek in her palm, turning to look at me. "Tell me, do you think I've really learned it?" "Why do you ask that?" I turned to her in return. Willow lowered her head, her long black hair falling over her shoulder like a waterfall. "I just feel like I'm not as good as others at studying. Can I really move up 10 spots?" I could understand her feelings all too well. After all, in all her high school years, she hadn't truly attended a single proper class. Only under my forced tutoring had she gotten somewhat familiar with the current lessons. It was like building a skyscraper. Normally you start from the ground up, but Willow's tower was being built in midair. Of course she'd feel uneasy, but I answered softly, "Don't overthink it. When you get the test paper, all you need to do is write down everything you do know. Studying is different from other things. If you put in the effort, you will get results." She didn't fully understand my words, but still nodded obediently. Compared to anyone else, she seemed to trust my words without question. And now, there was less than a week left before the monthly exam. Every night, I studied with her until late. Catching up on old material was tough, but I patiently answered every question. Effort often goes unnoticed, but as long as it's there, transformation is inevitable. That's an unchanging truth. When the monthly exam results came out, even Willow was shocked. From being at the very bottom, she had climbed into the top 20 in the class. This wasn't just a 10-rank improvement, it was 20. Soon, rumors began circulating in her class that Willow must have cheated. After school, she walked beside me, clearly feeling wronged. I gently patted her head to comfort her. "You have to understand, no one likes seeing someone else improve, especially someone they used to look down on. When that person surpasses them, they'll convince themselves it must be fake." I wasn't trying to console her, but my words clearly struck deep. "Whatever. Screw them. I couldn't care less," she said, slipping back into her rebellious tone. "But I really can do it, right?" Suddenly, Willow stopped walking, looking straight into my eyes. "Of course you can. Your grades are the best proof. Only we know how much effort you've put in behind the scenes," I answered firmly. "Yay." Willow suddenly leapt into my arms, nearly knocking me to the ground. Some passing classmates looked at us with disdain, while others gave me envious glances. I rubbed my aching shoulder and looked at Willow with mock exasperation. "Are you trying to kill me so you can inherit my leftover food?" Even as she laughed at my joke, her eyes never left mine. "You said no one likes to see others doing better than them, but what about you? Why do you want to see me do well?" Her expression was serious. She was genuinely waiting for my answer. In that instant, as I looked at her beautiful face, I felt my cheeks heat up. I don't know. That beautiful face moved even closer. The familiar faint fragrance was right at my nose. "You don't know?" Hearing her press the question, I blushed harder and scrambled for an excuse. Maybe it's because you live at my place. Since you live there, of course I have to take responsibility for your studies." "Oh." Willow clasped her hands behind her back, a faintly bright smile on her face. "So you're saying someone else has stayed at your place before?" "And no one. I waved my hands quickly. Just you, just me. Yeah, just you. My mind was completely blank. I had no idea what I was thinking, or even what I was doing. Before long, we'd already reached the door to my home. Willow stopped again, staring straight at me. Let's date. The words came out of her mouth just like that. Date. My heart thudded in my chest. It was something I'd never thought about before. Forget dating. I hadn't even held a girl's hand before. That time I pulled Willow along while running, in a moment of urgency, was already the most intimate contact I'd ever had with a girl. And now, the air between us seemed frozen. Don't you understand? I understand. The next moment, she took my hand herself. Then, let's date. That cool, soft touch sent a shiver through me, like a jolt of electricity running through my whole body. No, wait, we can't date right now. I quickly pulled my hand away, my expression awkward. Willow's face showed obvious displeasure. I didn't think you'd be so old-fashioned. Who says we can't date now? Dating is our business. It's not something other people get to decide. I had to admit, Willow was bold. We stood there, facing off in the courtyard. Some passers-by glanced in our direction. The weight of those stares made my face burn even more. How about we go upstairs first? I asked, testing the waters. Willow gave a sudden cold snort. Whatever. When we got back home, Willow didn't bring up dating again, but the atmosphere felt awkward. We sat in silence, not speaking. Even when we did talk, it didn't feel the same as before. It was like that thin sheet of glass between us had been shattered. Whenever I looked at her, my face flushed. Even later, while we worked on homework together, the faint scent drifting from her hair kept distracting me. I couldn't stop my thoughts from wandering. The scene of her confessing to me replayed over and over in my head. If I just said yes, I could openly take Willow's hand right now, maybe even do something more intimate. And that bed in the background, in the future, we could even sleep together. The deeper I let the thought go, the more afraid I was to think further. But those images in my head wouldn't leave. I cut our lesson short, unable to fully focus. Willow didn't say anything. Heading to the shower as usual, listening to the sound of the running water, my thoughts swirled. Finally, I put away my homework and took a deep breath. When Willow came out of the bathroom, I called to her softly, Willow. She was drying her hair, looking at me with a puzzled expression. About that thing, about dating. Before I could finish, a smile curved her lips. You finally figured it out. Confident in her looks, she straightened her back and walked toward me. Being my boyfriend comes with a lot of perks, you know. Her voice trembled slightly, but in those beautiful eyes, there was nothing but expectation. Instinctively, I swallowed. That faint fragrance unique to Willow made my mind go blank for a moment. No, that's not what I meant. At that, her movement froze. Then you're about to say dating is bad. That good students should just study hard. There was a clear flash of displeasure in her eyes. I shook my head. No, not that either. Let me finish. At my explanation, she finally looked straight into my eyes. What I wanted to say is, we can date. Willow's eyes lit up. I knew you wouldn't turn me down, but I think we should wait until after the college entrance exam to really be together. Okay. Her expression shifted to confusion. Why wait so long? Do you think I'm not good enough? I immediately denied it. You're great. I think you're beautiful. At my compliment, a faint blush touched her cheeks. I actually want to say yes right now, but I once read in a book, flowers that bloom too soon tend to wither faster. With you, I don't want to wither. As I spoke, my hand naturally came to rest on her shoulder. I felt her whole body tremble. Her eyes filled with a mix of emotions. I understand. Her voice shook a little. So you mean, no matter what, after the college entrance exam, we'll be together, right? Yes, no matter what. You won't look down on me because of my grades. Our being together has nothing to do with grades. My answer came without a hint of hesitation. Maybe it was only at that moment that I truly realized I really was starting to like Willow. All right. Then after the exam, she said with a smile at last, but I'm going to keep an eye on you. Don't even think about flirting with other girls. Hearing that soft but possessive warning, I couldn't help raising my hands in surrender. Of course not. What are you even thinking? Willow gave a small snort. If I find out, you're dead. No one can take you away from me. After those words, she suddenly seemed to realize something, then quickly dashed out of the room. Bang bang. I heard the door slam shut. Moments later, my phone lit up. A message from Willow. Good night. High school life was always monotonous. Day after day, we studied and lived in the same rhythm. Even though we weren't officially together, in the eyes of the whole class, we were already a couple. After all, if we weren't, we wouldn't go to and from school together every day, or turn down other people's confessions for each other's sake. What was different from before, though, was that Willow's reputation was slowly improving. One good score on a monthly exam could be written off as cheating. But when she consistently ranked in the top 15 of the class every month, there was no way to call that cheating. Even the teachers' attitudes toward Willow had changed. She had never been a bad student. I knew that better than anyone, and maybe because Diego had apologized to her in front of the entire school, those nasty rumors about her eventually faded away. Strangely, during our final year, I saw Willow receive over a dozen love letters, and even flowers from students in other grades. Every holiday or special occasion, these things would appear out of nowhere. Willow had dyed her hair black again, looking more beautiful than ever, but she often threw those gifts straight into the trash in plain view, then slipped her arm around mine and walked beside me. The boys envied me. Some muttered sour remarks that always seemed to reach my ears. They said I was just a bookworm, and Willow just happened to like bookworms. Of course, I didn't care about that. We still studied and ate together every day, following our usual routine. When the college entrance exam approached, I saw no hint of nervousness in Willow's eyes, only excitement. The night before the exam, she leaned close to me. When the exam's over, you're mine. Ahem. I coughed awkwardly. Yes, by then, I was already used to living with her, though we weren't officially a couple. There had been several moments of intimacy that had nearly made it official. This face, soon it'll have my name written all over it. Hands on her hips, she pinched my chin with a proud grin. I stiffened. Shouldn't you be going over the exam material instead? Lounging with one leg crossed over the other, Willow popped something into her mouth. As the saying goes, big exam, big fun. Small exam, small fun. She turned to look at me, long lashes fluttering. And for the college entrance exam, we're going to have the biggest fun. Her smile deepened, dimples showing. On the day of the college entrance exam, just as expected, it rained. 2 days of intense testing had my nerves stretched tight. When the final subject was over, Willow threw herself into my arms. Even though the rain still drizzled down, even though students were coming and going all around us, her soft lips pressed firmly against mine. From now on, you're mine, Willow whispered against my shoulder. In that moment, I held her without the slightest hesitation. Yes, I'm yours now. A month after graduation, we traveled to different places. Everywhere we went, we left our footprints together. A year's worth of restrained feelings erupted in a short time, making the relationship feel even sweeter. And that night, beneath the snow-capped mountains, we held each other close under the same blanket. Her kiss was warm. Our movements were clumsy, inexperienced. On the bed, there were faint traces of red. At Southern University, there was a rumor. They said among the freshmen, there was a stunning campus goddess, untouchable. I think that girl must come from a wealthy family. One of my roommates whispered to me. Between guys, it was easy to bond over such gossip. Another roommate laughed. Forget wealthy family, I've seen her before. With that face, she could easily pass for a celebrity. Hearing their comments, I couldn't help feeling secretly pleased, because the girl they were talking about was Willow. And now, Willow and I were officially a couple. Hey, George, aren't you going to take a look? Another roommate asked me. I chuckled and waved my hand. No need. I'm having dinner with her later. At that, the dorm erupted in boos. Come on, don't talk big. She just got here and already had over a dozen seniors asking for her WeChat. How would you even get a turn? Exactly. George, are you delusional? Another roommate patted my head like he was consoling a child. George, it's fine if we don't have girlfriends, but don't go making up stories. Yeah, seriously. Amid all their teasing, I didn't bother explaining much. Right then, my phone rang. Ring, ring, ring. I picked up, and Willow's sweet voice came through. Baby, are you done with your stuff? Did you make the bed? I nodded immediately. Of course I did. Why would you even worry about that? Good. Now hurry down for dinner. I'm starving. I'm right outside your dorm. Got it, I said. Hanging up, I looked at my roommates. Well, want to come eat together? They exchanged puzzled looks, having only vaguely heard a pretty-sounding female voice over the phone. George, don't try to act big. This kind of dorm bluffing is bad culture, one of them said in disbelief. I just smiled and stood up. Come on, I'm not lying to you. She said she's waiting to have lunch with me, and you still don't believe it. In the end, still half doubting, they came downstairs with me. After all, lunch was lunch. But when they saw Willow waiting at the entrance to the boys' dorm, every single one of them froze. Willow stood there like a striking scene in a painting, catching the eyes of passing male students. The moment she spotted me, she walked quickly over and grabbed my hand. Humph. You were so slow. I've been waiting for over 10 minutes, Willow said, half scolding, half playful. I laughed. You should blame them. They refused to believe you were waiting for me, saying I was just bragging. At my words, Willow burst into laughter. Really? Yes, really. Only then did my roommates finally process what they were seeing, and one by one, their faces turned red. It's actually true. No way. Man, this gorgeous girl is your girlfriend. Damn, you lucky bastard. My roommates trailed behind me. Even though there was a hint of jealousy in their tone, their eyes were full of genuine congratulations. Well, I guess even just having a meal with such a beauty would be amazing. Even if she's my roommate's girlfriend. One roommate spoke up, and another laughed. Hey, you better not start coveting someone else's girlfriend. Pfft. Even if I wanted to, I'd have to see if she'd even look my way. Ha 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 ha. With bursts of laughter, we all headed toward the cafeteria together. College life wasn't nearly as intense as high school, and with Willow, who'd gotten into the same university as me, it was like some switch had been flipped. She kept shining in every area. She won quite a few awards at the college level in her first year alone. She even took home a city-level award. On the campus forum, Willow was voted one of the top 10 campus belles of Southern University. One evening, she was snuggled up in my arms, scrolling through the forum. Which one of these 10 do you think is the prettiest? As expected, Willow threw me a trap question without hesitation. Mine's the prettiest, I answered, already used to her tests. Lame. Want me to tell you exactly what makes you the prettiest? I teased with a smile. Meh, boring. She pressed her palm firmly against my chest, almost making me lose my breath. Oh right, didn't you sign up for that provincial competition? Yeah, I nodded. Although we both got into Southern University, we weren't in the same major. I was in an engineering program, and Willow was in law. The provincial competition this time was a science and technology innovation contest. I knew it. Don't worry, I'll help you prepare. And so, we kept leaning against each other, enjoying the peacefulness of university life. Just then, a figure appeared, walking toward us with a few others in tow. I frowned. Do you know them? I noticed Willow's expression change slightly. I do. That's a senior who's been pursuing me. I've already turned him down multiple times. Before I could respond, an oily voice called out, Willow, why haven't you been answering my messages? The guy came over with his friends, wearing a fake, greasy smile. I'm on a date with my boyfriend. Why should I answer you? Willow glared, but he ignored me entirely, still smiling at her. Ah, Willow, you're something else. Look what I got you. He pulled a box from his pocket, looked like it was a ring. What you got has nothing to do with me. I've already made it clear, stop harassing me. Willow stood up, anger flashing across her face. How can you call this harassment? I just think Willow deserves someone better. The implication was obvious. He was saying I wasn't good enough for her. It was laughable. Really, he didn't even know Willow, and yet he dared to make such a judgment. He didn't know me, either. Slowly, I stood up, stepping in front of Willow. His challenging gaze locked on mine. What? You gonna do something? Smack. I didn't answer, just landed a sharp slap across his face. Get out of my sight. There was no room for negotiation in my tone as I looked down at him. The guy held his face, then came to his senses and clenched his fists. But I didn't step back an inch. Go ahead, hit me. I dare you. This was inside the campus, and the garden itself had security cameras. Whether it was him harassing Willow just now or me slapping him, the footage would be crystal clear. If you don't want the whole school to see your pathetic simp face, you'd better do yourself a favor and get lost right now. People like to call me a good student, but I'd never thought of myself that way. At my core, I was never a weak person. You've got guts, just wait, he growled. But in the end, fists still clenched, he didn't make a move. When he finally left with his buddies, Willow immediately bounced forward. You were amazing. In the garden, she threw her arms around my shoulders, eyes sparkling like stars. Amazing my ass. I shot her a look. Even though Willow had become much more well-behaved lately, deep down, she was still that thrill-seeking girl. This is probably going to bring us more trouble. But after this, you shouldn't have anyone bothering you again. I looked into her eyes. Willow smiled faintly, gently brushing my shoulder. You know, I really like the possessiveness in your eyes, and that tenderness. Tenderness? I turned my head slightly. Yeah, like the first time you held an umbrella for me. There were so many people passing by, but you were the only one who noticed me, and you were willing to give me your umbrella. Thinking back to that first encounter, even I hadn't imagined I'd end up sharing so many bonds with Willow. Alright, enough of that. It's late. I'll walk you back to your dorm. Under the moonlight, we strolled leisurely. It was the kind of peaceful time that made you feel safe, like there was nothing else we needed to think about. Just being next to each other was enough. College years truly were some of the best years of life, but in truth, I'd already changed a lot during this time. Those thugs I'd blocked at the school gate back then never came to bother Willow again. It wasn't because they'd turned over a new leaf, nor because they were scared off by the time I called the police. It was because I'd set them up and personally had them sent away. 3 years in prison meant they never got the chance to harass Willow again. And maybe today's incident with that senior would be my chance to kill the chicken to scare the monkeys. After walking Willow back, I wandered alone under the moonlight. Sometimes, having a girlfriend who's too beautiful is actually a kind of trouble. because when she's standing under the spotlight, there will always be plenty of people drawn to her. Preparations for the provincial competition began quickly, and that senior who'd caused trouble the other night, he started spreading rumors about me and Willow on the forum. It didn't really have any effect, but it was still disgusting enough to be irritating. His name was Makoto, and he was in the same major as me. On the school forum, the most popular post he'd made was, "City-level competition. If the campus belle Willow's boyfriend can't even place higher than me in the contest, then he's not worthy of Willow." Underneath, plenty of people who love to stir up drama jumped into the comments. "I agree. I know that guy. He's in mechanical design. Pretty average looking. No idea what trick he used to steal Willow away." "I think so too. Senior Makoto is the one who truly loves Willow." Some people were joking. Others just thought it was entertaining. And soon they even started a poll for opinions. Meanwhile, my roommates were fuming, furiously defending me in the comments section. "George, you're not even angry. He's basically stomping on your face in public." One roommate turned to me, looking pissed off. Seeing how calm I was only seemed to make him more upset. "Sure, Willow really loves you, but we can't just be weak like this." I nodded. "Relax, just wait and watch." As they looked at me in confusion, I opened the forum too. Only, what I saw was different from what they'd seen earlier. Under the post, Willow's account had left a short comment. "Even if you won a national-level competition, you still wouldn't be worth a single hair on my boyfriend's head. You're nothing but a clown. Don't use my name to say such filthy things here." The moment that comment appeared, the comment section exploded. "Damn, Willow's so badass." Some girls chimed in as well. "I don't know where this idiot came from, but openly interfering in someone else's relationship and talking big. Zero class. No matter how outstanding you are, if you try to meddle in someone else's relationship, you're just the third wheel." Most of the people saying this were girls. The strange thing was, even though Willow was gorgeous, she had great relationships with other girls. There wasn't the slightest jealousy, maybe because Willow never had that "I'm above you" unapproachable attitude. When my roommates saw the newest comments, their jaws dropped. "See, I told you there was nothing to worry about," I said with a smile. Grinning, they all gave me a thumbs up. "George, you've got to teach us how to win over such a beautiful girl." "Yeah, no need to explain too much. We'll cover your lunch for a week." "No, make it a whole semester." The three of them crowded around me, eyes full of curiosity. I chuckled. "Honestly, just hold an umbrella for someone on a rainy day when they don't have one. That's it. That's it." I smiled again, remembering the past. Back then, I was the one holding an umbrella for Willow. Now, she was often the one standing in front of me. She shone brightly, but never forgot me. Maybe that's what it means when love goes both ways. I continued preparing for the competition as always. After all, this was my area of expertise. Willow stayed by my side the whole time, giving me strength. During this period, Makoto came to provoke me several times, even shamelessly continuing to send gifts to Willow. Willow had long since blocked all his contact methods. I didn't take the matter to heart. The competition began on schedule. Makoto went before me and actually achieved a decent result. But my result completely dominated the field. The invention I proposed was far more practical for industry and caught the attention of potential investors. Right there on the spot, a company decided to invest in building a production line for my mechanical design. That result made Makoto grit his teeth in frustration. And because of this competition, I transformed from an ordinary college student into a research engineer with a patented invention, and even became the owner of my own factory. By junior year, Willow and I were already working together on research and development. But due to her professional placement, she was assigned to Beijing. We could only keep in touch through phone calls and nightly video chats. We maintained our long-distance relationship for over a year, until that snowy winter. While my factory was thriving, the alarm suddenly went off. The production plant was on fire. That place stored all our original production data and materials. Without hesitation, I rushed into the flames to try and save the electronic files, but I was still a step too late. Covered in soot, an employee said grimly, "This loss. I can't even begin to estimate how much it'll cost us." I took a sip of water, staring at the burn marks on site, my face expressionless. This was deliberate. We have to find out who's behind it. The signs were too obvious. The factory equipment didn't have the conditions to spontaneously catch fire. And in my mind, one name appeared, Makoto. Even though he didn't score higher than me in that competition, he was a year ahead of me. In his senior year, he found investors outside of school and started a business in the exact same field as mine. His main work, copying my products. This fire very likely was meant to delay our product launch so they could seize the market first. If this turns out to be true, their company won't be able to escape responsibility. One employee looked at me, puzzled. "Boss, who are you talking about?" "No one. I then led people to seal off the site and reported the matter to the shareholders. My phone rang. It was Willow calling. "Why didn't you answer earlier?" Her gentle voice came through the line. Even though I was in a foul mood, her voice had this strange magic that calmed my heart. "My factory caught fire, possibly arson. I was just investigating." "What? Arson?" I told her everything, my findings, my suspicions. While still on the call, Willow booked a red-eye flight to rush back. "Let me tell you, the legal team I'm working with now is really good. They even handle international cases." Willow's excellence was something that never needed my supervision. And now, there were even rumors about her at Southern University. The campus beauty of Southern University, Willow, wasn't just beautiful. In only 2 short years, she had already obtained her law license. Now, she was working at a prestigious law firm in Beijing. The stories about Willow were always dazzling, the kind that sounded almost unreal, as if she'd stepped straight out of a novel. But only I knew just how real she was to me. Her voice kept coming through the phone, endlessly fussing over details. "You kept the scene intact, right? And the police and fire department, they've collected all the evidence, right?" I drifted off a little while listening to her barrage of questions. "Hey, are you even listening to me?" Her voice turned sharp and slightly tsundere. I immediately snapped back to attention. "Of course I am. Of course I am. Haha. My Willow studied law. How could I not understand this stuff?" "Don't worry. I've already gathered and preserved all the evidence." Hearing that, Willow finally sounded reassured, but her tone was still firm. "If that scumbag Makoto really did this, I'll make sure he rots in prison. I trust you completely, Willow. Cut the crap. Just wait for me at the airport." That night, we met in the middle of the night. Because it was already so late, I took Willow straight back to my rented apartment. She glanced around at the modest space, then let out a soft laugh, as if recalling something. That smile was sweet. "Looks like I'll be staying over again." I smiled and pulled her into my arms. "Not staying over, this place is already your home." That night, we held each other close. Our passion burned like fire, flames that even the depths of winter couldn't extinguish. You can't hide a fire with paper. With her law firm's intervention, the case quickly reached a conclusion. The fire was officially ruled arson, and the police began handling it as a criminal investigation. Makoto's team was compelled to cooperate with the investigation by legal order. After more than 2 weeks of evidence gathering, the truth was basically confirmed. Makoto had been clever. He hadn't done the dirty work himself, but sent a trusted subordinate to set the fire. When the verdict came down, that subordinate was sentenced to 15 years in prison. But Willow wasn't satisfied with the outcome, so she filed an appeal directly against Makoto. I simply watched her busy figure from behind, not interfering, because in my eyes, Willow looked most beautiful when she stood in court, arguing with reason and conviction, more beautiful than at any other time. Back in high school, whether it was public opinion or slander, for a girl of that age, it was impossible not to feel the weight. The rumors had nearly destroyed her completely. Fate can't be explained in words. I still don't understand why I walked into Willow's life, and now, she shone brighter than ever. The law was her most powerful weapon. She no longer needed anyone's protection. If anything, it was now Willow who was protecting me. After 3 months, the verdict finally came. At the second trial, the court convicted Makoto for inciting a crime. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Because of this case, Willow's name spread rapidly. My company also paid Willow the corresponding fee for her work. "I never imagined there'd come a day when I'd actually earn money from you." She laughed, extending her hand, clutching 8 crisp red 100 yuan bills. "I told you, I'd pay you back through proper means. Of course, what I owe you is far more than this." Before I could respond, Willow had already wrapped her arms around my shoulders. Her soft lips pressed against mine again. After a brief kiss, her gentle whisper brushed my ear. "Don't think I don't know all the things you've quietly done for me." That year, I looked into Martin's case file. My whole body froze. But before I could speak, that soft, tingling voice came again. Willow's voice was beautiful. "Thank you,